Hello loves, I am back with another video. I just got to my hotel. I'm in West Virginia. I'm on a layover, so I decided to do another video for you guys. I wanted to give you guys the real about what being a flight attendant is. I want to do a pros and cons videos on being a regional flight attendant. I think a lot of people see the glamour in being a flight attendant, which I love being a flight attendant, but I think people need to understand the real of what you're getting into. I would hate for somebody to watch these videos and go to training for 4 to 6 to 8 weeks and get out and not like it because you have gotten the wrong impression of what actually a flight attendant is, what the schedule is, what everything is. So I'm going to start off with the cons because I want to end this video on a positive note for you guys. So I'm going to start off with the cons. The biggest con for me is pay. As a regional flight attendant, I get paid a good $10 less than mainline. And when you talk to the average person, when you look at the pay scale, my pay is not bad hourly. I make over $15 an hour. I make a good amount of money hourly, but you guys have to remember, I'm not working 180 hours a week. I'm not working 40 hours a week plus. I'm working maybe at max 100 hours a month. So you guys have to understand that. Like, I'm not working the regular 40 hours a week. I get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So for me, pay is the biggest thing for me. Mainline starts, like I said, a good $10 more than what I make. And they fly a lot more longer routes and all that. That's the biggest thing for me. And as coming into the airline business, you need to find out what's best for you. You need to look at the top out pay. You need to look at the starting pay. And what I mean by top out pay is what you will make at the max years you're at that company. So at some companies, like at my company, at 20 something plus years, I will be making a certain amount of money for the rest of the time I'm at that company. And that matters. So you guys need to really look into that and do your research on the top out pay, what you'll be making starting off. Like for me, I'm grateful that I'm still pretty young and all I have is a phone bill, my student loans and my crash pad. There's some people that I was in training with that had mortgages, that had kids. And at the end of the day, I don't see how people could, unless you have a husband or a man that is helping you out with your bills, I don't see how you can afford life off of a regional pay, because all I have is a phone bill, my student loans and my crash pad. And I still, when my paycheck comes around again, I'm down to my last $100, $200, sometimes $50. There was a time where I had a 2-hour layover in Atlanta, and I thought I had more money in my bank account than I did, and my card got declined, and I had to call my dad, and he put some money in my bank account. He had to cash out me some money so I could eat. Like, it's real. I love being a flight attendant, but you really have to think about that. Being a regional flight attendant, yes, the hourly seems nice, but you have to realize you're only working 100 less hours, especially as a reserve. You're not going to be working 100 plus hours as a reserve. You're going to be working around 70 hours or less as a reserve. So you guys need to keep that in mind. So you will need to learn how to budget your money. Most people are coming to this industry and they are going to be making a pay cut. For me, I was a waitress and I made great money as a waitress. I was used to getting that money in my hand every day, leaving with a few $100s in my hand every day. So when I started this job, it was an adjustment for me because I had to learn how to budget my money. You get paid 2 times a month. Not every 2 weeks, 2 times a month. So it's about every 2 weeks, but 2 times a month. And your checks aren't always that high. With me being on reserve, sometimes my checks would be $500, $600 every 2 weeks. Just because as a reserve, you're not working. You can sometimes work a lot and you can sometimes not work at all. So it's very up and down. So if you have a side hustle, I suggest you keep that side hustle. If you waitress or in bartend, tell your job, like, I still want to continue to work here. It'll just be part-time and when I can, I wish I would have done that because I think my manager would have allowed me to come and go as I please, because they all knew that I was leaving to go be a flight attendant. If you do hair, if you do nails, if you do eyelashes, whatever your side hustle is, however how you get your money on the side, I suggest you keep it up because it will come in handy. Now that I'm about to get a line, I am going to start waitressing again because I need that extra money. I like to shop. I like to get my nails done. I like to get my hair done. I don't like to have to choose like, I will do this month and that next month. You know, I feel like we work too hard, and if you want to go get your nails done, if you want to go get your hair done, if you want to go buy your cute outfit, you want to treat yourself to a nice dinner, you should be able to do that. And no matter what you do, if you're a flight attendant or not, whatever your job is. So really need to keep that in mind and just save your money. Everybody says save before you go to training, but truly save, because when I got out of training, I was broke. My first month out of training, I was still broke. And shout out to my parents because they did help me. If I needed a few extra dollars, they would give it to me. And my boyfriend, like, if I needed something. Another con for me is destinations. When people think of flight attendants, people think you're going to Florida, you're going to Miami, you're going to Fort Lauderdale, you're going to Los Angeles, you're going to Mexico, you're going to all these lavish places, and that's not it. As a regional flight attendant, you fly into small airports. You fly into to states that have little baby airports. Your hotels are in the middle of nowhere most of the time. And if it's not in the middle of nowhere, there might be a TGI Fridays, there might be an Applebee's, there might be an IHOP. But you're not like Islands Mommy on the beach. Like, that's not that as a regional flight attendant. You're not laying over in Fort Lauderdale. You're not laying over in Miami. You're not getting those beach layovers. That is what a regional flight attendant is, unless you're based out west. My company has 19 bases, and if you are based out west, you will get those beach layovers and things like that. But if you're based on the East Coast, you're not going to be flying out to California. You're not going to be flying out to Florida. You're not going to be flying out to Mexico. You're not going to be flying out to Dominican. My company, the only international flights that I get is Canada and Mexico, and since I've been at my company for almost 8 months, and I have never had a layover in Mexico. I've had two layovers in Canada, and they were nice, but it's not like Islands Mommy. You're about to be like on the islands laying out at the beach. And some of my layovers can be 8 hours or less. Some of my layovers are 10 hours or less. So you guys need to keep that in mind. I think people get the wrong concept of a flight attendant. They think they're going to be going on these layovers. They're going to be out the country having 20-30 hour layovers. That's not it as a regional flight attendant. So you guys have to keep that in mind. I fly into cities that I never even knew existed. Cities that only have one restaurant, one bar, one Walmart. So you really have to keep that in mind. Another con is little planes. As a regional flight attendant, I fly on the CRJ 200 a lot, which means I am the only flight attendant. There's a captain, there's a first officer, and then there's me. And for me, I'm a very social person. I love when I fly on the bigger airplanes because there's another flight attendant with me. And if we vibe, which most of the time I vibe with my other coworkers, the other flight attendant I work with, and it's nice because if you want to go out to dinner, if you want to go out to the bar, if you want to go hiking, if you want to go work out, you have somebody else that is most of the time down to do that with you. When you're working at a regional airline, you either have 2 flight attendants or you have 1 flight attendant. And most of the time, I work on the CRJ 200, which is it's a 50 passenger airplane, and I'm the only flight attendant on that flight. And to me, I would love to work with 2, 3, 4 other flight attendants. Mainline, a lot of the times they have 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 plus flight attendants working with them. So if some flight attendants don't want to do something, that's fine. But you also have options when you have a big group of people. Sometimes my pilots don't want to do anything, and I want to do something, so I end up doing those things by myself. So you really have to keep that in mind. When I became a flight attendant, I did not know the difference between regional and mainline. I just knew I wanted to be a flight attendant, and I applied to the first company that gave me the opportunity. So really do your research, really look into it, because flight attendant life might seem glamorous, and I love it. A part of it is glamorous, flying all around the world and seeing different places, but you got to really know what you want as a flight attendant before you start applying and just going off the training, because the training is hard. I'm not going to say training is hard. I was fresh out of college, so I was still in the study mode, but training, it can be difficult. And to go somewhere for 4 to 6 to 8 weeks and be stuck there and not know if that's what you want to do, it can be hard. I knew I wanted to be a flight attendant, so I finished strongly, but you need to know that this is what you want to do. Another con is crews. Like I said, when it's 2 pilots and your pilots don't want to do anything, a lot of times you get stuck either doing stuff by yourself, or you get stuck sitting in your room for how many hours. It can be, you can have an 8-hour layover to a 30+ hour layover, and if your crew does not want to do anything, you're stuck by yourself. So you really have to think about that. But I'm gonna move to the pros and end this video on a good note. Pros are always good. The biggest pro for me of working at a mainline is getting a line. And if you don't know what a line is, when you start off at a flight attendant, you're usually on reserve. And reserve is you get a certain amount of days off a month, and that's it. That's all you can bid for, is the days that you want off. And there's no guarantee that you will get those days off. And at a regional airline, you will get a line more quickly. I have been at my company for almost 8 months, and I will be getting a line next month. A line is, you can pick when you want to work. You can pick how many days you want to work. You can drop trips. You can pick up trips. You can have a whole month off. You can have 2 weeks straight off. It just depends on what you want. As a reserve, you don't get that option. As a reserve, I have 11 to 12 days off a month, depending on how many days are in the month. If there's 31 days off in the month, I get 12. If there's 30 or less, I get 11. And that's it. As a line holder, you can have, is pretty much, you can pick and choose what you want. And you really need to look into the company that you're going for, because some companies are on reserve for 15+ years. There's some companies that are on reserve a year or 2, and then they get a line. So you got to really think about what you want and what type of life you want to live. And that's a big thing for me. I plan on going back to school. I'm going back to school this summer. I start classes May 28th. And for me, having a line is important, because another pro to working at a regional is short flights. For me, when I do 2-3 hour flights, I'll be ready to get off the plane. I'll be like, when is this flight about to land? I am ready to get off of this flight. When you work for regional, the longest flight you might do is 3.5 hours. When you work for mainline, you might go on a 10-hour flight. You might go on 10-hour plus flight. You don't know where you're going, because mainline goes out the country. The farthest, like I said, my company goes is Mexico and Canada. And where I am based at, it won't be longer than a 3.5 hour flight for me to get to Canada or Mexico. I'm based in Chicago, and I was originally based in Detroit. And if you ever been to Detroit, you know the Canada border is right there. So it was never longer than a 2-hour flight for me to get to Canada. It was never longer than a 2-3 hour flight for me to get to Mexico. So you need to think about that. Like, that matters. I don't personally like being on flights longer than 3+ hours unless I am a passenger and I'm sitting back, drinking my drink, eating my snacks, and not working. But that's personally me. So you need to know if you want to do long flights or if you want to do short flights. And for me, that's a pro. I love that sometimes I have days where all my flights are under an hour. Great, awesome. I'm not in the air that long. I do my service. And by the time I'm done with my service and getting everything together, collecting trash, we're down on the ground and the passengers are out, and I'm off to my hotel to lay over. So that is a pro for me. Another pro for my company is bases. My company has, like, now I think, when I started training I was 17, I think now it's 18 or 19. And I think that's a big pro, because a lot of mainlines only have about 5 to 6 bases. My company has like 18 or 19 bases. So, and it doesn't take you long to transfer to those bases. There's people that I went to training with that lived on the West Coast, California, but got based in Detroit. And it took them about 4 to 5 months to get based back out west in Cali, where they were from. All you have to do is wait. It takes time. Any company you go to, you're going to start at the bottom. And it takes time to get where you want to get. So I say wait and be patient, because my company is pretty most regional companies are pretty fast to get where you want to be. And I love that about regionals. As you guys know, I was based in Detroit originally, and I wanted to get Chicago, and it took me 5 or 6 months, I think 6 months, to get to Chicago. But I waited my time, and I eventually got to Chicago. To me, 6 months is not that long to wait. At Mainline, there's some people that might wait a year or two just to get to the base that they want, and I love that. Like I said, my company has 18 different bases, so you can live on the West Coast, East Coast. You can find a base that will work for you, so you can commute. If you want to commute, if you want to live there, you can live there. It works out perfectly. And another thing that I like about my company or working for regional is that it's easy to connect to upper management. If I ever have an issue, I can talk to the president of my company and call her and say, like, this is my issue, this is the problem that I'm having with it. If I have any problem, I can talk to my chief flight attendant, I can talk to the vice president of my company, I can talk to them, I can call them. And that's the perks of being at a regional or a smaller airline. When you're at a big airline, you're kind of like a number. In a sense, they have 10,000 plus employees, so they're not going to really be worried about you. But if I really have an issue, I can get down to the nitty gritty of it, and I can call upper management and the people that are in charge and have a conversation with them and tell me their concerns. So I love being in the industry airline. I think it's a great career, but I think you really have to do your research and really know what you want. And just in life, if you want to have family, if you have kids, if you're in the process of getting married, if you want to get married, if you have a significant other, I think you should really consider regional, because it gives you, I feel like, a better quality of life, because you can get off of, I know when I was in training, I know people that were only on reserve for a month, 2 weeks, and got a line. That is awesome, because having a line changes your whole life. But when you have to be on reserve for 5+ years, it makes a difference. So if you have young kids, if you have a man at home that you need to get to and be there for, regional is something that you should really look into. Yes, the pay is not as much, but for me, quality of life matters. Like I said, I'm currently enrolling back in nursing school to become a nurse, and I will be, once I graduate, I will be doing, I will continue to be a flight attendant, but I will also be a part-time nurse, and I think that is awesome. I love the flexibility of being at a regional airline. And sorry, my camera died. But like I was saying, having a line is important to me, because I'm starting back classes May 28th, and I will be doing online classes because I won't be getting a line until June, and I want to figure out how the line life will be. But starting in August, I will be back in my nursing program, and I will be having to be at campus because I will be in clinicals and having to do lab. So having a line is very important to me because I do want to finish school. I only have about 8 classes left. If you don't know, I dropped out my last year of college of nursing school because I was kind of sick of it. But now being a flight attendant, I realized that I would love to have that as a backup plan. So having a line is super duper duper important to me because I want to finish school. I want to get that degree, and I want to have something to fall back on in case I do ever decide not to be a flight attendant anymore. So you really need to think about that. And at the end of the day, money isn't everything. Yes, you make more money at a main line, but you have to think of other things that you might want to do and just really think about everything. And don't let nobody discourage you from your dreams and doing what you want to do. I love being a flight attendant. It's a great career. So if you're out there looking to be a flight attendant or are already flight attendant, follow your dreams and do what you want to do, because at the end of the day, life is too short, and do what you want to do because you will hate to live with regret. And I will see you guys in my next video.